on 2021 in retrospect. And I did mention every day to the year end, I'll be having different guests on the show to discuss the year 2021 in retrospect. How have Nigerians fared in the year 2021? How has Nigeria, the nation, fared in 2021? What are some of the highs, the lows, the highest, and the lowest that we've come to in the year 2021, and possibly what are the prospects for the new year 2022. Now, today on the show, joining me in the studio to discuss 2021 in retrospect, I've got the editor, who is the independent monitor, Olalekan. Lekan, good evening to you. You're welcome to the show.
Yeah, good evening, Diane. It's good to be here once again.
Always great to have you here. It's been a while, actually, since you've reached my studio.
Yeah, well, I've been consulting. You know, we have to consult. 2023 is not too far away, so I've been consulting with my people.
And what are your people saying?
I'm here to see the green light.
Very Christmas to you.
Yeah, same to you, Dayo.
Oh, let's get straight to it. It's been a very tough year. The last couple of years have, for all of humanity, actually. 2021, no doubt, has been a very difficult one as well.
True.
And for Nigerians also. So let us get straight to it. If you were to do what would be your summary, your assessment? What do you make of the year 2021 as to how Nigeria and Nigerians have fared? How has 2021 been for Nigeria?
Well, I think I would say lukewarm, neither hot nor cold. I'm sure you're aware of the fallout of 2020, the pandemic, occasioned by COVID-19, that rendered a lot of economy, developed and not even developing economy, prostrate for a long time. It took time for a lot of countries to recover from the effects of COVID-19. And of course, Nigeria has had a struggling economy, largely dependent on imports in terms of any foreign exchange and all of that. So you begin to understand why it's been challenging, really, for Nigeria. And of course, the effects of the banditry, terrorism, kidnapping, and all of that in the northeast and the northwest, the southeast joining the fray, unfortunately. And recent developments across Nigeria, have made it really challenging, for us as a nation. We are still struggling with the economy, and insecurity has mounted, I think, in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 months. Even though we can say, look, the effect of Boko Haram is not as pronounced as it was before. But the bandits, which government has now officially tagged terrorists, but the terrorists operating, especially in the northwest, has made life difficult, for Nigeria. And why has it affected us, especially from the southern part of Nigeria? I'm sure you know that the northern part is our mainstay when it comes to food and agriculture. And when farmers are unable to go to farms, especially in the northeast, in the north central, in the northwest, it will obviously affect, us in the southern part of Nigeria. The number one need of human existence is food. And without food, then you can see that people will begin to complain. And the greatest security you can also have, as a country, is food security. So you see why food or agriculture and security go hand in hand. And that's why I said, look, we've had a very lukewarm year.
Let's talk about quality of governance, quality of leadership. You talked about the impact of COVID-19.
Yeah.
No matter how advanced that country is, no matter how even well off or rich they are, every country, every economy was negatively affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And even first world economies suffered as well.
Definitely.
However,
they even suffered more.
However, even though nobody saw it coming, and I'm not sure there was any one country that was truly prepared to handle the impact of COVID-19.
No.
Some governments responded better than others. You have countries where governments were dishing out monies, to cushion the effect to businesses, even private-owned businesses, to pay their workers. You had governments that were giving money to citizens, what we would even term as humongous sums over here, dishing out foods to people. Decent foods and decent supplies, even down to shampoo and soaps. Unlike in our case here, where food items were locked up in warehouses and people had to break into them to get some packs of noodles and the rest of it. But would you say that in the year 2021, how would you rate leadership, governance across the different tiers of government, across the different states of the country? Generally, did we make progress in terms of governance and government, basically?
But if it's how will I rate leadership or governance? At the local government level, there's practically nothing existing at the local government level for as long as you can remember across many states in Nigeria. So local government administration is neither here nor there. Many people don't even feel the impact, of local government. So we can say it's probably lying prostrate if we want to look at the issue of local government. For states, we've had some state governors who've been able to rise, to some of the challenges of COVID-19, who've been able to mitigate, the spread of COVID-19, who've been able to probably think out of the box to ensure, say, look, now that we have this on our hands, what are we doing? Are we moving forward and all of that? For the federal government too, I think the federal government was able to respond to the extent to which it could respond to at that point in time. Remember that even before COVID-19, we didn't have much of functional health facilities. And when you talk of health facilities, it's not just the prerogative of the federal government. Health is on the concurrent list, meaning you have primary healthcare center that should ordinarily be managed by local government. You should have state hospitals that should be managed by tertiary or secondary hospitals that should be managed by state government, and of course tertiary institution health facilities that should be run by the federal government. So when you look at it very well, then you would say, look, we didn't have that kind of health infrastructure to be able to contain what was coming, even in the best of the developed economics, especially in England, especially in the United States, especially in Italy, where they had functional health system. They were clearly outweighed by the outbreak of COVID-19. So if you look at it in Nigeria, that's where that government responded well when we want to check across all the levels, and that's one of the reasons why we are still struggling to get out of it. Even with the fact that we had COVID-19 last year, how well have we been able to respond if this is to come again? We already have the second wave. The Omicron is around the corner, and if we've checked the latest figures from NCDC, Nigeria's figure is rising by the day, every day.
Pardon me, the NCDC has officially stated that we have a fourth wave now.
Yeah, exactly. So you can begin to imagine what will happen. How many local governments are even prepared for the fourth wave? How many states are even making efforts to develop, health institutions that can help them handle the fourth wave? How many federal institutions are also responding, to be able to handle the fourth wave? So you begin to understand that, look, leadership in terms of our response, in terms of our ability to mitigate what is to come and what is definitely going to come because of the fourth wave, then you say that, look, we've not done fantastically well.
We talked about insecurity just a while ago, Boko Haram and the terrorists, aka bandits, and all the other security issues that we've had to deal with. It's been with us for some time right now.
Yeah. And
this government, especially the federal government, will continually, in spite of everything Nigerians have had to live with and deal with, in spite of the hashtags trending in the north, the mayhem and the catastrophe. I came across some reports recently depicting the number of security officials we've lost in the last 1 year. Hundreds of,
sure.
Across the police, the army, and all of it. And astounding figures indeed. How has the government performed in terms of security? And like I was saying a while ago, they will constantly tell us how this government has decimated security. I mean the bandits or Boko Haram. Recently, there was talk about tens of people killed in some northern states.
Yeah, some students roasted in a bus and all the rest.
And the response of one of the president's media aides, I suppose, is that because the federal government is on top of the situation, is decimating them, the result is they are targeting soft targets. So when 100 people die, it's because federal government is making progress. I think that's the logic behind that statement.
Yeah.
So what's your assessment of government's performance in improving security in the country?
Maybe the right question should be, is Nigeria making sufficient investment into security or into containing security, Dayo? The answer is absolutely no.
Nigeria purchased Super Tucano jets and the rest.
Dayo, look, yes, I agree. Let's give some credit to the federal government in terms of hardware acquisition. Yeah, no problem. We could give them some credit. But Dayo, look, we are not spending enough. Now, we'd say our GDP at the moment, I think it's just something a little bit below 500 billion US dollars. So it means that we should be spending nothing less than 1/4 of our GDP on security. And when you say 1/4 of, say, 500 billion, you already know what it means. That's about 500. That's about 125 billion. $125 billion is what should be spending on security annually. We are not spending enough. How many policemen do we have in Nigeria, Dayo? How many military men do we have in Nigeria? Navy, Air Force, put all of them together. I doubt whether they're up to 3 million. For all of our military and paramilitary personnel in Nigeria, I doubt whether we're up to 3 million. And what's Nigeria's population? We don't even know our population. We've had speculative figures and all of that. So let's play with the figure of 180 million Nigerians. Then we have just about 3 million people, or less than that, policing us. So you begin to understand that, look, even though the federal government said it is investing in security, we are not spending enough. Dayo, have you gone to police stations? If you go to police stations, do they look like places where things can happen? The police, are they well equipped? I hope you know that, but for the intervention of state governors across Nigeria police may have collapsed. When last did the federal government buy official vehicles for police? When last did the federal government make uniforms for the police? When last did they supply their consumables, batteries, torchlights, and all of that? Do we have a national crime database? Have you gone to any police station before, maybe outside of the state police headquarters, that has a functional CCTV camera? How well have we been able to even police the metropolis? What kind of investment are we making into ICT for police, for the army? When you talk of intelligence gathering, how much money have we invested into intelligence? So it's not just about buying hardware. What of the software? What of the human beings? What is the salary? What is the salary of the average policeman? Where does he live? Is he insured? Is his life insured? Have we made him happy? Have you made the average policeman happy? Have we made him happy to the extent that, look, he's willing to risk his life? When you compare Nigeria police to what we have in sane societies, you laugh and say, look, we are nowhere near what is called police. For some of us who've been privileged to travel out of this country, it's easy to track criminals. Let me give you an example. Supposing I commit a crime in Port Harcourt and somebody is able to get my plate number, how do you know who owns the car immediately? That's one of the easiest things to do in sane societies. They just need the plate number of the car. Once you get my plate number, the policeman that you are calling, because there's what is called all points bulletin, APB. Once you issue an APB, it means that information is available to every policeman in that metropolis. And most of the police vehicles already have a computer system right inside the car. What do? Type my car plate number. And the moment you type it, FH, this, that, PHC, my entire details appear almost immediately. So even before I run to Lagos State to hide, they're already shouting my name all over the radio, all over the television. Why do you think that it's so easy? Most times when somebody commits crime in sane societies, it's easy to get the person's picture. Why do you think it's easy? Because they already have a database of everybody. Until recently, we didn't have a comprehensive database of Nigerians. Maybe with this national identity number, we can begin to have a semblance of what it is to know who is a Nigerian, where do you stay, who is your father, who is your mother, who is your brother, who is your sister, who is your relative. These details are part of what forms the security architecture of a country. So are we invested enough? How many police cars have function? How many police cars even have a laptop inside the vehicle in Nigeria? How many? So how do you track criminals? How do you keep track of what is going on? For example, we're in a city like Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt should have CCTV cameras mounted in strategic positions so that there's a command and control center that gathers information by the day. If a crime is committed in Rumusi, within hours, within 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, we should know those who are likely to commit such crime. We should probably have a composite picture of the people. Do you have a crime database? Okay, if somebody makes a diagram or somebody is able to draw myself, can you take that picture? Can you match it with what you in your database to have a semblance of who has committed the crime? So it's not just about hardware alone. It's not just about software. What about the personnel too? So you can see that we are not spending sufficiently on security, and we need to devolve police.
We'll come back to government in a moment, I suppose, in the course of the conversation. But let's talk about an area that I'm certain you are very familiar with as well, and that's the media or the press. Uh, Government has enormous responsibilities, and several other agencies of government and institutions have huge responsibilities. The media, the press, has an incredible weight on its shoulders as far as responsibility as well in any society, and the Nigerian society is inclusive. In the year 2021, we talk about how the media or the press have been heroes in times past, how they championed and fought for democracy in the face of tyranny, in the face of dictatorship, in the face of even death itself, and how the media, did incredibly well and to salvage the country and save it from the brink of destruction and all of that. Is that media still the same now? And how has the media performed in 2021? Has it lived up to that billing? Has it saved the country? Has it held government accountable? Has it helped to direct positive narratives in the country? Has it helped to in designing policies and ensuring policies are implemented and all of that?
Well, yes, I will read the media in Nigeria, despite the challenging conditions, with which we work. I think I would, say we've done definitely above average. We've never shied away from our responsibility. We'll continue to highlight the issues in the society. I remember a recent report, I'm trying to remember the name of the journalist now, about the state of affairs of police barracks in Lagos. I remember the last one about the...
Was that not Fisaya Shiambo, I think?
I think so, yeah. The police authorities declared wanted and all of that. So even the police are trying to help, to bring their matter to the front, but now they're also not going to help themselves. We've had situations where we've had to investigate those who were directly responsible for the disbursement of money that was gotten during the COVID-19 era. I think that report was also sent to the National Assembly. We've had the issue of the minor that is in jail now. Those are some of the highlights of what we've had this year. I don't think the press has done badly in the year 2021. Of course, they've been badly affected too by the outbreak of the COVID-19. Some were laid off, some had to, take salary, pay cut and all of that. But despite these, challenging moments, challenging times, I think we've continued to maintain our contribution towards the growth and development of Nigeria. You wouldn't say the same journalism we had pre-independence and especially immediately after independence is what we have at the moment, because the times have also changed. Pre-independence, all were desperately after then were let's get independence. Immediately after independence was about struggle, to control political offices, the issue of winner takes all, the issue of resource allocation and all of that, the military interregnum, the fight against the military to exit, the successful exit of the military, the return to democracy in 1999, and all of that stuff. I think we've continued to hold our heads high, across the dynamics, the vicissitudes of what's been happening in Nigeria.
Well, I think you speak professionally now, so I'm going to ask you the same question. We're going to rephrase it, and from a different context. So maybe professionally, the media or the press has conducted itself appropriately, above average, to borrow your expression. But has the media, in your experience or from your standpoint, met the aspirations of the average Nigerian? I know that whether or not the average Nigerian understands the professional implications of what we do, but they do understand something. They do know that the media has enormous responsibilities. Sure. As sad as it is, I get the impression sometimes that a large section of the Nigerian population even sees the media as more of a government than the actual government, such that when things go wrong, they, rather than call or reach out to government institutions or even their representatives, the first thought that comes to mind is let's call some radio station, let's call some editor of one newspaper, because they believe that once they bring it to the fore, the problem is more than half solved already.
Sure.
Now, to that extent, do you think the media in 2021 has lived up to the billing for the average Nigerian, has met with their aspirations? And case in point, you find that even the situation with the persistent suit situation in Port Harcourt in Rivers State, I've had on occasion heard people consistently even blame the media as well and accuse the press of not discussing or bringing the matter to lighten off, not making a noise or big fuss about it, and that's why it's still persisting. What do you make of that?
Well, I think to a large extent we've been able to meet the hopes and aspirations of Nigerians. The fact that they remember to call us every time, the fact that they think of us every time, the fact that they feel in taking their issues to the media will probably get the attention of government is sufficient confidence, in the media to say, look, no matter how bad it is, if we run to these people, they can all, excuse me, they can always help us find a way, to reach those that are in government. I think to a large extent we've been able to do that. Sometimes too, it is the people who complain about certain things. Then when you begin to unearth, what is behind maybe a scandal somewhere, and once you begin to do your excuse me, once you begin to do your investigative journalism, some of the people also will be calling to say, look, is he the first man to do this kind of thing? Why are you after him? Is he only him that has been in government? What of the people that, and it's the same people who were complaining initially that, look, we're not getting anything. Now you say, okay, let's investigate what is really the problem. The same people will turn around and say, no, he's not the first man to have helped himself while in office. Why are you focusing only on him and not just, then you ask them, well, you're not the one complaining. He said, no, we didn't ask you to go to this extent. We're only, so, it's difficult for us to satisfy the society, but to a large extent, I think we've been able to meet the hopes and aspirations of Nigerians. Remember, to also operate within the confines of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Whatever that affects the society also affects the media, affects the journalists, and all of that. But I think we've done well in 2021. I think so.
It is Hard Facts in 90.3 Nigeria. Info here in Port Harcourt. 2021 in retrospect is the conversation right now. It's an ongoing series started yesterday. My guest today is Olalekan, editor with the Independence Monitor. A commercial break now. We'll return in a moment. The conversation will continue. Please stay with us.
Information is a two-way thing. Nigeria Info, it's your turn. Let's talk.
And now, Hard Facts. Hard Facts with Dio.
Welcome back to the Hard Factor 91.3 Nigeria Info here in Port Harcourt. I'm Dio. 23 minutes ago before 5 o'clock, the news update is about 5. But for the moment, discussions continue 2021 in retrospect. The series, my ongoing series on the show will continue till the end of the year, where we discuss 2021, how has Nigeria fared, how have Nigerians fared in the year 2021. My guest today is editor of the Independent Monitor, Olalekan. You're welcome once again.
Yeah, thank you, Dio.
Conversation via WhatsApp on 0809 030 6416. WhatsApp is on, Facebook rather. We are live on the Facebook, I hope. It's facebook.com/Nigeria Info PH. Now, look, still on the matter of the media, you said something quite profound before the break. You talked about how, in spite of whatever misgivings anyone might express as far as the media's performance at any time and in this year, the fact that people still seem to call on the media means there is an appreciation, an underlying appreciation of what the media has done and what the media can do to help the situation. However, whilst some person who may not even attend landlord to tenant association meeting in his estate or his community, may not even come out for a protest on his street regarding something that affects just his street, and will acknowledge or consider those people who are doing that as charlatans, who are not busy, who don't have anything doing, but will be the first to cast aspersions on the media, not understanding that there are challenges to the media doing its job as well, vis-a-vis freedom of press. It's a very, very critical thing. It's very important thing. The safety of journalists is a pressing matter as well in Nigeria and even the world over. What has press freedom been like in 2021? Has government been appreciative of the, not necessarily antagonistic relationship, but it's supposed to be a symbiotic one, actually.
Relationship, yeah.
Exactly. Has governments in Nigeria been appreciative of the press, of the media enough? And press safety, press freedom, basically in 2021, what's it been like?
Can the government be ever appreciative? Never.
Is that a general principle or a Nigerian thing?
It's a general thing anywhere in the world. Dio, even when somebody comes to the press and talks, and you record him verbatim, the same man will come tomorrow and say, no, he was misquoted by the media.
He was quoted out of context.
Even when you have him on tape and said, no, that is not what he said. You quoted me out of context, or that is not what I meant to say, or in fact, that is not what I said. Can they ever be appreciative? But seriously, what a lot of Nigerians also do not know is that the freedom of the press is also tied to a credible electoral process. If we have a credible electoral process, it will also make the job of the journalist a simple one. What do I mean? If we have a credible electoral process that throws up people who genuinely win election, the tendency is that they will be more responsible when they get to office. Because they know that if they don't perform very well, if they know that if they are found wanting, if they know that journalists will investigate them and ensure that they discover what has gone on in the office they hold, they'll be more responsible in their dealings, and they'll be willing and able to be able to tell journalists what is truly happening. If, for example, you vote somebody into office as a governor, and he knows that even if he doesn't perform well, the people will change him in 4 years' time, there's tendency for him there's a tendency for him to want to be responsible. There's a tendency for him to want to do things transparently. There's a tendency for him to want to showcase what he has done and what he has done, what are his limitations and all of that. Because he knows that in 4 years' time, the people have the power to vote him out. It's also tied to the ability of the journalist to perform his duties. But if we have politicians, or I'm sure you've had in Nigerian parlance where you say somebody didn't perform well, in the first term. I say, well, after if you go to school and you didn't do well, you repeat the same class. so even if you didn't perform well as a governor, the best way for you to perform is to repeat the same class. We've had something like that, especially in Edo State when they accused the then governor of Edo State, Lucky Igbenedion, of not doing well in the first day. And I can't remember who made that phrase and said, look, if the man didn't perform well, the best is for the people to allow him to repeat, so they can perform well. So the ability of the journalists also function is also determined by the ability of the people to freely choose those who should represent them. And we've not had that, to a large extent. And of course, there is no way Nigeria can develop without a credible electoral process. Nigeria's march to greatness is determined by how credible our electoral processes are, how serious-minded political parties are. I'm sure you already know that one of the current things in Nigeria today is the amendment to the Electoral Act that the president has refused to assent to. He's raised his reservations about certain things. You understand? And you know that these are the kind of things that can help Nigeria develop as a country. The moment leaders know that the electorals have the power to change them every 4 years, that is when Nigerians will begin to sit up and begin to get the best too from the media.
Now, you talked about the people right now and how critical they are to the process, and if they play their role, institutions will work, even journalists will be better primed to do their jobs as well. You also talked about the credible electoral process.
Sure.
But also critical to that process. It's not just about electronic voting, even though those are very important, or direct or indirect primaries. Voter turnout as well is critical to this process. Nigerians waking up to their own the people waking up to their own responsibility as
True.
well. Not necessarily massively voting strictly across ethnic or religious lines or other such mundaneness, or who has structure or who is on ground, which has led us nowhere actually. Maybe somewhere, some bottomless pit. And one of the biggest criticisms of Nigerians is our tendency to be docile and just take everything and anything, no matter how sometimes even outlandishly ridiculous, and we just take it hook, line, sinker, and just move on and leave it in God's hands.
Sure.
And there is a hope that Nigerians will wake up and stop leaving things in God's hands and take their destiny in their own hands. Do you think that in the year 2021, Nigerians have shown any sign that we are moving ever closer to having a responsive population who are aware of what's going on and identify that all of these things affect them and are willing to play their role in changing the narrative?
I have not seen anything to that effect, sadly so. I think, of course, we are too religious in Nigeria. We're a very religious nation, or religious people, I should say. Most things that should ordinarily elicit, instant response from us, we tend to leave it for God and say, God will take care, God will take control, is according to the wishes of God, is God that made it to happen, and I'm sure God, who is our creator, will sometimes be laughing at us, and say, these my children are definitely not serious. Because for us as Christians, God says He has given us the dominion. He's given us the brain. He's given us the ability. He's given us the reason, the tact, the discerning mind, to be able to determine what is good and bad, to be able to determine what it is to go forward. You understand? But we've just simply, resigned ourselves to faith and say, look, 2023 is around the corner. The man will soon go. There are a lot of people out there who are complaining about the administration of Muhammadu Buhari, and you think that with the way and manner they speak at the moment, with the kind of anger that you see in some of them, you think that when 2023 comes, all of them will turn out to go and vote. You'll be shocked that you won't even find most of them on that day of election going out to vote. Some of them will be in the house and be telling you that, well, they've already written the result. There's no need for me to go. The last one I voted in 1979, my vote did not count. The one I did in 1983, where is the result? The one I voted in 19... They will tell you all the electoral dates, Nigeria's history, and they have consistently voted. What happened to that result? I'm not going out to vote. They shot it the last time. They did this, they did that. That's why I'm saying that the kind of leadership we have is also determined by the people. We complain too much, but we do very little. That's our number one problem. And in 2019, I kept shouting it, on the social media. We're even in the studio too in 2019, and said, look, this is the time for everybody to come. I think for the media, we did sufficient mass mobilization. We pleaded with people, go out and vote. Look at the recent governorship election in Anambra, a state with over 1 million registered voters. Less than 300,000 people voted to determine who will lead the people. Where were the rest of the people? And there will be the same set of people to complain that, look, the governor is not doing anything, he didn't do this, he didn't do that, he's not creative enough. But where were you on election day when you had the power to aggregate all your votes, to aggregate all your minds? If, for example, you're against the present government of Muhammadu Buhari, what you should be doing from now is to begin to mobilize people around your area. Look for people of like mind to say, look, this president has not performed well. What do we do in 2023? Are we voting for another person? Are we voting for another political party? Can we see all the candidates? Begin to influence those that are around you now. Convince them. Ensure that they have voters card. Ensure that they go out to vote on election. Ensure that they stay there and ensure their votes are counted. And now that INEC is doing electronic transmission of results, as soon as the result is announced at the world level, is immediately uploaded on their website. So there's some form of credibility following the electoral process. Now, that's exactly what happened in Ondo State. That's what happened in Edo State. It's now happened in Anambra. All unit results and word results are uploaded automatically on INEC website. So it becomes very difficult for anybody to manipulate the process. Even if you run away with the ballot box and all of that, they cancel the result in that area. But for as long as the INEC official declares the result at that unit, at that ward, that result is automatically uploaded on INEC website. So it means some kind of transparency is beginning to come into the electoral process. So we need to encourage the people, really. They're also part of the problem. It's not just about being the leaders. What about the followers? What do we do too, on election days? Do we go out to vote? Do we even believe that we can actually vote and change our leaders? Some don't believe in it. And some too are also willing to sell their conscience for mere pittance and complain later.
We've talked about the federal government. We'll probably come back to the issue of the coming elections and the hula baloo over direct or indirect primaries. But let's talk about state governments for a bit, because I have a feeling that a lot of Nigerians, I'm not sure if they understand the critical role or position that state governments play. I mean, it's all well and good to be upset about the federal government's performance or a lack of it entirely and blame Buhari. You have a right to do that. He's a president. If a president, in your estimation, hasn't performed right, you have a right to castigate him or criticize him, and that's very all well and good. But how about state governments? They do have roles to play as well. In the year 2021, have state governments lived up to the billing?
It depends on the parameters, Dio. Okay, let's take agriculture, for example. Now, I did say in some of my opening remarks that, look, as much as 70% of the food we consume in Nigeria, both grain, cereal, cash crops, as much as probably 60 to 70% come from up north. So anytime there's a dislocation in the north, we feel the effect badly in the south, right? Now, so what you'll be expecting is that governors from the southern part of Nigeria, let's take the last 4 years. What has been their agricultural policy? What has been the improvement we've had in the agricultural sector? In areas where you have comparative advantage, how well have you been able to mobilize the people, to go into agriculture? Agriculture is one of the very many areas that you can use to lift people out of poverty. Just imagine a state saying, look, we want to be the major grower of rice in Nigeria. Interestingly, there are many states in the southern part of Nigeria that is within the rice belt. That means states that can grow rice. I don't think there is any other food that we eat in Nigeria more than rice. I think the next thing that will be close to rice will probably be bread.
What of Gary?
Gari is only eaten in some parts. They don't eat Gari in the north.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking at food that almost every Nigerian will have a taste of. If it is not rice, then it has to be bread. But bread is also huge, and bread is made from wheat. So bread is hugely consumed in both north and southern part of Nigeria. I'm sure if you go to north, one of the freest things you will see is bread and tea. You understand? Then rice. Even though you say they don't eat much of rice, especially for the core north areas, they eat tuwo. Tuwo is also made from rice. Tuwo is cereal. So you understand? So we have states in the southern part that are along the rice belt. What kind of investments have the state governors made in the last 4 years to ensure that, look, we also produce food from the southern part of Nigeria? What of cassava? What of maize? Maize is one of the largest selling grains that we can have anywhere in the world. Because from maize, you can get sugar. I'm sure you know from maize, you can get sugar. Some breweries are now using maize for fermentation in producing beer. So you can begin to understand. We have places in the southern part of Nigeria where we can grow vegetables, tomatoes, onions, name them. So what kind of investment have we made in agriculture? How well have we been able to ensure that our people participate in these things and lift them out of poverty? It's not just about the federal government. You can even say, look, the federal government has done by far better in terms of agricultural policy than many state governments. So you could see the anchor borrowers program of the CBN that has encouraged people to be able to grow rice. That facility is available to every state in Nigeria. How many governors have approached the CBN through the anchor borrowers program? What other efforts are they making to also create employment in their respective states? What efforts are they making to improve their IGR? What policies, what actions, what programs, are they bringing out to encourage entrepreneurs in their respective states? We are saying that, look, Nigeria is one of the is the poverty capital of the world. So what are the efforts of the state government in lifting people out of poverty? How many governors in southern Nigeria can say, look, since 2019 or since 2015, look at the number of people we have been able to lift out of poverty? It's not just the federal government's responsibility, but I'm sure you know that governors are always happy when Nigerians focus all of their attention on the federal government. It deflects the kind of scrutiny that they should be going through. You never can tell today. Maybe some governors may also be funding people to continue to shout, on the federal government so that nobody remembers. I'm sure for some people don't even know where the state governors live. Some don't even know whether the state governor comes to work or not. The whole attention is focused on the federal government of Nigeria. I'm sure you also say the same thing of local government. I think the local government is even the worst off. Many people don't even know their local government. They don't even know the name. They don't even know whether there's a local government administration. But local government also have responsibilities.
Probably, and we have to wrap this up in a moment. But a final question, I suppose, arguably the biggest story in the country at the moment is the president returning the amended electoral act bill to the National Assembly. And the issue in contention is the clause talking about or mandating primaries of political parties in the country. What's your take on that development very quickly? Yeah,
I support the president in saying, look, the Electoral Act cannot mandate political party as to how they run their political parties. Political parties are a creation of the law, just like the Electoral Act, just like INEC, just like any other thing. So political parties should be given the prerogative to determine how they want to choose their candidates. I'm sure you know that it is only the political party that can present candidates for election. It shouldn't be the responsibility of the Electoral Act to tell a political party how it should conduct its internal affairs. That should be left to the political party. That should be left to the members of the political party. To now add that INEC should also supervise or conduct primaries for political parties. INEC is yet to even fully comprehend its responsibility as the electoral umpire in Nigeria. You now want to give it added responsibility. Even the current clause that says INEC should monitor parties primaries before they present their candidates is unnecessary. You are overburdening INEC. INEC's core responsibility should just be conduct of election. That's my take.
Thank you very much. We have to wrap it up on that note, and thank you for being a part of the conversation as well. 2021 in retrospect, and I did say it's in series commenced yesterday to the end of the year. Every day, I suppose, every Hard Facts Day, excluding possibly Wednesdays, 4 to 5 p.m. We'll take a look at the year 2021, how Nigeria and Nigerians have fared. Today, my guest has been Olalekan, editor with the Independent Monitor. Lekan, many thanks for your time.
Thank you, Dayo. Thanks for having me.
Commercial break up next, top of the hour at 5 o'clock. We've got the news update after that. Direct primaries or not direct primaries, the president has said no to that. What's the implication for the proposed amendment to the Electoral Act? Barrister Festus Oguche joins us for that conversation after the news update. Do please stay with us.